Letting go begins the moment you decide your peace matters more than your past. If you're listening right now, there's a good chance you've been carrying more inside than anyone around you knows. Maybe you wake up with a heavy mind. Maybe you feel stuck in old memories that show up at the wrong time. Maybe you're tired of pretending you're fine when your heart is worn out. That's real, and it deserves attention. This audiobook is here to help you understand yourself better, not judge yourself. It's here to guide you through emotional healing in simple, clear, everyday language. No dramatic claims, no complicated ideas, just real tools for real people who want to feel lighter inside. In The Art of Letting Go, Free Your Mind and Heal Emotionally, we explore how to release what hurts, calm your thoughts, and create the kind of life where you feel steady and in control again. So ask yourself calmly and honestly, what if I gave myself permission to heal today? If that question feels important to you, stay with me. Your next chapter is waiting. Chapter 1. Let go of past hurt and free yourself. Many people carry pain from the past for far too long. It sits in the mind and in the heart. It shows up in the way a person thinks and in the way a person reacts. It can shape choices without being noticed. It can slow progress even when a person works hard. That is why the ability to let go of past hurt is one of the most important skills a person can learn. It is not easy, but it is possible, and once it happens, the mind feels lighter and the future feels open again. Healing begins with honesty. A person cannot free themselves from something they refuse to face. Past hurt grows when it is buried or ignored. It does not fade on its own. It stays active in thoughts and decisions. So, the first step is simple and strong. Recognize what happened, state it clearly in your own mind, admit the way it affects you. This is not weakness. It is responsible awareness. When you bring your experience to the surface, you take back control from it. Once you recognize the hurt, the next step is to separate it from your identity. Many people hold pain as if it defines who they are. They confuse a moment in time with their entire story. They think the past shaped them so deeply that nothing can change. This belief keeps a person stuck. You are not your past. You are the person who survived it. You are the person who can choose something better. You are the person who can shape the next chapter with clarity. When you understand this, you begin to open space inside yourself for growth. Letting go also requires understanding the difference between memory and attachment. A memory is something that happened. Attachment is the emotional energy that keeps it alive inside you. The memory cannot be changed, but the attachment can be released. Many people continue to replay an event long after it ended. They replay what someone said. They replay the moment that hurt them. They replay how unfair it felt. Each replay strengthens the emotional weight. To break this cycle, stop feeding the hurt with new attention. Notice when your mind goes back to it. Pause. Shift your focus to something useful. This takes practice, but it gives your mind incredible strength. Another step is acknowledging the meaning you created around the hurt. Pain often teaches the wrong lessons. For example, someone may decide they are not enough. Another may decide they cannot trust anyone. Another may believe they should never try again. These conclusions are not facts. They are emotional reactions. To let go, question the meaning you attached to the event. Ask yourself if that belief helps you grow. If it holds you back, then it deserves no place in your life. Replace it with a belief that strengthens you. This is how self-respect grows. This is how the mind becomes free again. Forgiveness is also a powerful part of letting go, and it begins with freeing yourself from constant tension. Forgiveness does not mean approval of what happened. It does not excuse the behavior. It simply means you are choosing peace over continuous stress. When you forgive, You allow your mind to stop carrying the story. You choose your own well-being over old pain. You take back emotional power. Some people think holding on protects them, but it only keeps the wound open. When you forgive, the wound begins to close. Self-forgiveness is just as important. Many people carry guilt or shame from past decisions. They blame themselves for not knowing better. They punish themselves for mistakes they made while they were learning. If this is you, understand one thing clearly. Growth does not come from punishment. Growth comes from awareness, responsibility, and new action. You do not need to carry old versions of yourself. You can honor your progress by giving yourself understanding. You can acknowledge the lesson without holding the pain. Self-forgiveness is the foundation of emotional freedom. Letting go also requires action. Thoughts alone cannot undo emotional weight. Build new habits that support healing. Create moments of quiet so you can hear your own mind. Speak openly with someone you trust. Move your body in ways that release tension. Eat in a way that supports energy and clarity. Surround yourself with people who treat you with respect. These actions strengthen your inner world. When you support your daily life with good habits, your mind gains the power to release what no longer belongs. Another key part of this process is giving yourself permission to move forward. Some people stay attached to their old hurt because they feel loyalty to the past. They think moving on means the experience did not matter. They fear that healing means forgetting. But healing does not erase what happened. Healing simply means the event no longer controls your life. You deserve progress. You deserve peace. You deserve a future that is shaped by your choices, not your pain. Pay attention to how letting go affects your body. The body carries emotional weight, tight shoulders, heavy chest, tired eyes, shallow breathing. When you release hurt, your body feels more open. You start to breathe deeper. Your face relaxes. You feel lighter when you wake up. You notice more energy during the day. Emotional relief becomes physical relief. This is how you know you are moving in the right direction. Letting go also improves relationships. Old hurt often builds walls. It makes simple conversations feel tense. It makes kind gestures feel suspicious. It makes trust difficult. When you free yourself from old pain, you create more space for healthy connection. You speak more clearly. You listen with more patience. You recognize good people more easily. You enjoy moments instead of guarding yourself from them. You connect from a place of strength instead of fear. As you continue this journey, remember that healing is not a single moment. It is a steady practice. There may be days when the past returns to your mind. That does not mean you failed. It only means you are human. When this happens, return to your tools. Breathe, reflect, question the belief, release the tension, choose your peace. Each time you do this, you grow stronger. Each time you do this, your mind becomes more free. The real reward of letting go is freedom. Freedom to think clearly, freedom to make new choices, freedom to feel calm inside, freedom to build a future without the weight of yesterday. When you let go of past hurt, you do more than heal. You open a new life. You open a new level of personal strength. You open a new sense of self that is not held down by old stories. You have the ability to create this change. You have the strength to face what hurt you. You have the power to release what no longer serves you. You have the responsibility to protect your peace. You have the freedom to build a life that feels true to you. When you let go of past hurt, you give yourself the chance to live fully again. And that is a gift no one else can give you but you. Chapter 2. Ease your mind gently and welcome healing. Many people live with constant noise inside their mind. The noise may come from stress, fear, confusion, or memories they never fully understood. It can show up first thing in the morning and remain throughout the day. It can interrupt sleep and weaken focus. When a mind stays tense for too long, the body reacts as well. Shoulders tighten, breathing becomes shallow, thoughts move too fast, life begins to feel heavier than it needs to be. That is why learning to ease the mind gently is a vital part of emotional healing. It is not about forcing yourself to feel calm. It is about creating an inner space where calm is able to enter. The first step toward easing your mind is giving yourself permission to slow down. Many people move through their days with a sense of pressure that never stops. They believe they must always be productive or responsible or strong. They rarely pause. They rarely breathe deeply. They rarely check how they actually feel. When you allow yourself a moment of stillness, even a short one, you send a message to your mind that it can release tension. This simple act creates an opening for healing. You do not need long hours of silence or special routines. A few moments of honest attention can shift the direction of your day. Another part of easing your mind is learning to recognize the thoughts that create stress. Not every thought deserves your energy. Some thoughts are based on fear rather than truth. Some are shaped by old patterns rather than your current reality. Some come from habits you learned long ago. When these thoughts show up, they can stir your emotions before you even notice. But once you learn to identify them, you begin to gain influence. You can pause the cycle instead of following it blindly. You can choose to respond instead of react. You can create clarity where confusion once controlled you. When a stressful thought appears, consider how your body reacts. You may feel tightness in your chest, a heaviness behind your eyes, or a quickening of your breath. These signals are not your enemy. They are information. They show you where attention is needed. When you acknowledge these signals without judgment, your mind begins to relax. You tell yourself that you are safe in this moment. You remind yourself that emotional waves do not last forever. As the body softens, the mind begins to soften as well. Healing grows when tension drops. Another way to welcome healing is by simplifying your mental environment. Many people try to solve every problem at once. They jump from thought to thought until everything feels overwhelming. But your mind works best when it has clear direction. Choose one issue to focus on. Give your attention fully to that one thing. When you complete it, or come to peace with it, move to the next. This approach reduces stress and gives you a sense of steady progress. Healing becomes easier because your mind is not scattered. Clarity rises when chaos lowers. You can also ease your mind by creating small habits that support emotional balance. These habits do not need to be complex. A few minutes of quiet breathing, a short walk without distractions, a moment of stretching to release physical tension, a conversation with someone who makes you feel understood. These actions help the mind settle. They remind you that you can shape the way you feel. They show you that healing is not a sudden event, but a daily practice. Over time, these habits build emotional strength and make tension easier to release. Healing also grows when you learn to speak to yourself with kindness. Many people criticize themselves for feeling stressed. They believe they should be stronger or calmer or more controlled. This inner pressure only increases tension. When you choose to speak to yourself gently, your mind listens. You acknowledge your feelings without tearing yourself down. You give yourself the same understanding you would give a close friend. This creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is the doorway to healing. Another important part of easing your mind is understanding that discomfort does not make you weak. Every person goes through moments of uncertainty, fear, or doubt. These feelings do not mean something is wrong with you. They mean you are human. When you stop treating discomfort as a threat, your mind begins to relax. You no longer fight your feelings. You observe them. You learn from them. You allow them to pass instead of holding them tightly. This shift gives you inner balance. You feel steady even when life becomes challenging. Welcoming healing also involves giving yourself space from constant noise. This may mean stepping away from overwhelming environments, being more intentional with your phone, or reducing exposure to people who drain your energy. Your mind needs room to breathe. It needs silence, just as your body needs rest. When you protect your mental space, you protect your peace. Healing becomes more possible because your mind is not fighting constant stimulation. As you ease your mind, you will begin to notice small changes. You may feel more patient during the day. You may notice a little more clarity in your decisions. You may find yourself breathing deeper without trying. You may find that emotional tension passes more quickly. These changes show that your mind is responding to your efforts. Healing does not shout, it whispers. It grows quietly. It builds strength over time. Another part of welcoming healing is allowing yourself to feel. Many people avoid emotions because they fear they will lose control, but avoiding emotion keeps it trapped inside. When you allow yourself to feel sadness, frustration, or worry without pushing it away, the emotion begins to soften. It moves through you instead of staying stuck in you. This honest process reduces stress and opens space for calm. You learn that you can handle your feelings. You learn that emotional waves rise and fall. You learn that healing expands from acceptance, not resistance. Your mind also calms when you create small victories in your life. Accomplishing simple tasks builds confidence. Confidence reduces stress. Stress reduction increases emotional openness. Each step supports the next. Whether you clean a small area of your room, complete a task you have avoided, or spend time caring for your well-being, you send a message to your mind that you are in control of your direction. A steady mind grows from steady action. Relationships also influence your mental ease. Surround yourself with people who listen, people who respect your feelings, people who understand the importance of emotional health. Supportive connections help you release stress more quickly. They give you a sense of safety. They remind you that you are not alone. Healing becomes easier when you do not carry everything by yourself. As you continue this journey, understand that easing your mind is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is about small choices that support emotional balance. It is about giving yourself time to grow. Healing comes in waves. Some days feel easier, some days feel heavier. Each day still counts. Each day builds strength. Each day shapes a calmer inner world. And through this steady practice, you begin to welcome healing naturally. You start to trust yourself. You start to feel grounded. You start to understand your own needs. You start to create a life that supports your emotional well-being. You begin to live with more clarity and less tension. You begin to realize that healing is not something you chase, it is something you allow. When you ease your mind gently, you invite peace into your life. You open the door for a stronger version of yourself. You make space for emotional freedom. You begin to feel what life is like when the mind is not crowded with stress. And once you feel that freedom, you understand the true value of inner calm.
Chapter 3. Choose lighter thoughts and calm your mind. Many people do not realize how much influence their thoughts have on the way they feel each day. A single heavy thought can shape your mood, slow your progress, and drain your motivation. It can make simple tasks feel complicated, and moments of joy feel distant. Choosing lighter thoughts is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about giving your mind a healthier direction. It is about refusing to let stress dominate your inner world. When you choose thoughts that support clarity and emotional strength, you give yourself the chance to create calm from the inside out. The mind often repeats thoughts out of habit. If you have spent years focusing on what could go wrong, your mind will continue producing those same thoughts automatically. If you have carried doubt for a long time, your mind will return to it again and again. Heavy thoughts build patterns, and patterns can feel natural even when they are harmful. But habits can be replaced. When you become aware of what you are thinking, you create a moment of choice. That moment is powerful. It allows you to decide whether the thought deserves your attention or whether it is simply an old pattern trying to survive. Choosing lighter thoughts begins with recognizing the weight of the ones that drain you. Notice the thoughts that make your body tense. Notice the ones that lower your confidence or increase your worry. Notice the ones that pull your energy down instead of lifting it up. Awareness does not require judgment. It only asks for honesty. When you see clearly what thoughts do to your mental state, you can begin choosing thoughts that support your well-being. You can choose thoughts that guide your mind toward calm instead of stress. Many people think they must fight heavy thoughts, but fighting them usually makes them stronger. The mind reacts to resistance by repeating the very thing you want to forget. Instead of fighting, shift. When a heavy thought appears, acknowledge it and redirect your attention. You may focus on a small task, take a breath that steadies your body, or remind yourself of something true and helpful. This is not avoidance. This is training your mind to move toward balance. Over time, the mind learns to follow the path you choose more easily. Lighter thoughts are not unrealistic. They are thoughts that bring clarity instead of confusion. They are thoughts that support growth instead of fear. For example, instead of saying you cannot handle something, you remind yourself that you can take one step at a time. Instead of telling yourself everything is falling apart, you focus on what is within your control. Instead of expecting the worst, you prepare for the best outcome you can reasonably work toward. These shifts may seem small, but they change the emotional tone of your day. They create room for calm to grow. Another way to choose lighter thoughts is by being selective about the information you take in. What you read, what you watch, and who you spend time with all influence your thinking. If you surround yourself with negativity, your mind absorbs it. If you engage with people who constantly complain or criticize, your mind begins to echo their tone. Protecting your mental environment is not selfish. It is necessary. It allows you to focus on thoughts that support mental strength and emotional healing. When you guard your attention, you guard your peace. Calming your mind also requires understanding the difference between a thought and a fact. Just because something appears in your mind does not mean it is true. Thoughts can be shaped by old fear, stress, or past experiences. When a heavy thought appears, pause and examine it. Ask yourself whether it reflects reality or just emotion. When you challenge an unhelpful thought, its power weakens. When you replace it with something grounded and useful, your mind relaxes. This is how you take charge of your inner world. Another important piece of calming the mind is learning to return your focus to the present moment. The mind often becomes restless when it jumps too far into the future or lingers too long in the past. The future can create anxiety. The past can stir regret. But the present offers clarity. When you anchor yourself to what is happening right now, your mind slows down. You breathe deeper. You think more clearly. You make better decisions. This simple practice can reduce emotional tension and give your mind a sense of stability. You can also calm your mind by practicing emotional acceptance. Many people feel overwhelmed because they fight their emotions instead of allowing them to move naturally. When you feel upset, acknowledge it. When you feel tired, admit it. When you feel uncertain, name it. This honesty reduces mental pressure. It removes the inner fight that creates more stress. When you accept what you feel, your mind stops working overtime to hide or resist the emotion. This acceptance gives the mind space to recover. Choosing lighter thoughts becomes easier when you support your mind with physical balance. A tired body creates a noisy mind. If you are not resting enough or caring for your health, your thoughts become heavier. When you treat your body with care, your mind gains strength. Simple choices like drinking enough water, stretching your muscles, or stepping outside for fresh air can shift your mental state within minutes. Healing is not just emotional, it is physical and mental working together. Another step in calming your mind is creating boundaries with your own thinking. You do not need to entertain every thought that appears. You do not need to explore every fear or scenario that pops into your mind. You can decide what deserves your attention and what does not. This is a skill that grows with practice. At first, your thoughts may pull you in many directions. Over time, you learn to choose what you feed and what you release. That choice builds emotional strength. It is also helpful to pay attention to moments of peace, even small ones. When you notice a moment where you feel at ease, hold it for a little longer. Allow your mind to absorb it. These moments remind you that calm is available. They show your mind what it feels like to be free from tension. When you give attention to peace, your mind begins to seek more of it naturally. This simple practice strengthens your ability to choose thoughts that create calm. Healing grows when you remove pressure from yourself. Many people expect their mind to be perfect. They expect calm at all times. They expect immediate control. This expectation creates frustration. Healing does not demand perfection. It requires patience. You will have days where your thoughts feel heavy. You will have moments where your mind becomes restless. This does not mean you are failing. It simply means you are human. Each time you redirect your thoughts towards something lighter, you build mental discipline. Each small shift becomes part of your progress. Over time, you begin to recognize that your thoughts are tools, not chains. You can use them to lift yourself instead of pulling yourself down. You can use them to build inner strength instead of feeding fear. You can use them to create calm instead of stress. This is the true power of choosing lighter thoughts. It gives you control over your mental direction. When your thoughts become lighter, your life begins to feel more manageable. Challenges feel less overwhelming. Relationships feel more open. Decisions feel clearer. You begin to trust your ability to handle what comes next. Your mind becomes a place of support instead of tension. And when your mind finds calm, your emotional healing deepens. You feel more grounded. You feel more hopeful. You feel more connected to yourself. Choosing lighter thoughts does not remove difficulty from life. It gives you the strength to face difficulty with clarity. It helps you stay centered. It helps you protect your peace. It helps you grow into someone who responds from strength rather than fear. This is the heart of emotional healing. When the mind becomes peaceful, the heart follows. You gain the freedom to live with more intention, more confidence, and more balance. The moment you decide to choose lighter thoughts, you begin building a new inner world. You create a mind that supports your goals. You create a mind that allows you to breathe without tension. You create a mind that welcomes healing with openness. And each day you make this choice, you grow stronger. You grow steadier. You grow more aligned with the life you want to live.
Chapter 4. Drop old pain and create inner safety. Many people carry pain from earlier years without noticing how much space it takes inside them. Old pain can shape the way a person reacts, the way they trust, and the way they see themselves. It can hide behind defensiveness, silence, worry, or anger. Even when life improves, the weight of past hurt can remain. Dropping old pain does not mean forgetting your experiences. It means loosening the emotional grip those memories still have on you.
It means choosing to build a sense of safety inside yourself, so you no longer depend on outside forces to feel steady. Creating inner safety begins with understanding that your mind cannot feel secure while it is still holding on to past wounds. Old pain keeps the nervous system alert. It makes simple conversations feel threatening and small challenges feel overwhelming. When old pain stays active, the body learns to expect stress even when nothing is wrong. To break this cycle, you must acknowledge the hurt that has been sitting quietly within you. You give yourself permission to admit what you have been carrying. This is not weakness. This is the first layer of healing. Once you recognize the old pain, you gain the ability to release it. Little by little, dropping old pain starts with clarity. Identify where the pain shows up in your life. Maybe it appears as distrust. Maybe it appears as self-doubt. Maybe it shows up when you try to form new relationships or take new steps. When you notice these patterns, you begin to see how the past still influences the present. This understanding gives you the strength to separate yourself from old emotional weight. You realize that your past shaped you, but it does not have to control you. You realize that old hurt was part of your story, but it does not define who you are today. Creating inner safety is a gentle process. It does not grow from pressure or self-judgment. It grows from consistency and understanding. Inner safety forms when you reassure yourself instead of criticizing yourself. It develops when you treat your feelings with patience rather than shame. Many people try to rush healing, but emotional wounds soften when you allow yourself to move at your own pace. When you accept your feelings and give them room to settle, your inner world becomes a calmer place. Another important step is breaking the cycle of replaying painful moments in your mind. The mind often returns to old scenes because it is trying to protect you from being hurt again. But replaying the same pain does not protect you. It keeps you stuck in the same emotional state long after the event ended. To drop old pain, you must stop feeding it with constant attention. Notice when your mind brings back the same memories. Pause. Redirect. Focus on what you need in the present. Each time you do this, the emotional hold weakens. Inner safety becomes stronger when you replace old conclusions with new understanding. Painful experiences often teach false lessons. They may convince you that you are not worthy of love. They may convince you that you must stay guarded. They may convince you that people cannot be trusted. But these beliefs come from moments of weakness, not from the truth of who you are. To create inner safety, question these old beliefs. Ask yourself whether they help you grow or keep you locked in fear. When you replace unhelpful beliefs with ones that support strength and balance, you build a new foundation inside yourself. Dropping old pain also means giving yourself compassion for what you went through. Many people blame themselves for not knowing better or for not being stronger at the time. They judge their younger self harshly. But your younger self was doing the best they could with the knowledge and emotional tools they had then. Inner safety grows when you stop attacking yourself for past choices. It grows when you give yourself the same understanding you would give someone you care about. When you offer yourself compassion, you create emotional warmth that helps dissolve old tension. Inner safety also comes from learning how to calm the body when old emotions surface. When the body feels threatened, the mind becomes unsettled. When the body feels safe, the mind follows. Simple actions like slow breathing, grounding your feet on the floor, or relaxing your shoulders can signal to your nervous system that you are okay. These practices retrain your body to stay present instead of reacting to old pain. With time, your body learns that the past is not happening anymore, and your mind begins to trust that truth. Another part of creating inner safety is being selective about the environment you allow around you. People who leave you drained or uneasy can stir up old emotional patterns. Situations that overwhelm you can reactivate unresolved pain. You are allowed to choose peace over chaos. You are allowed to step back from relationships that damage your emotional health. When you protect your boundaries, you teach your mind that you can keep yourself safe. This confidence forms the root of inner stability. Dropping old pain sometimes means revisiting the moments you avoided, not to relive them, but to understand them. Avoided emotions stay active beneath the surface. When you gently face them, they begin to lose strength. You allow the emotion to express itself without drowning you. You release the pressure that has been building for years. You learn that acknowledging pain does not break you. It frees you. Facing the truth brings your power back to the present, where healing can happen. Inner safety becomes stronger when you build trust with yourself. You build this trust by keeping small promises to yourself. When you say you will rest and you rest, you build trust. When you say you will step away from toxic situations and you do, you build trust. When you choose actions that support your emotional well-being, your mind begins to feel secure under your leadership. This trust is one of the strongest forms of inner safety. You learn that you can depend on yourself. Dropping old pain also requires recognizing that healing is not about changing the past. It is about shaping your present. You cannot rewrite what happened, but you can decide how it lives in your memory. You can reduce its influence. You can loosen its grip. You can take away its role in your identity. When you realize you have this power, you stop feeling controlled by the things that once hurt you. You begin to step into life with more confidence. You allow yourself to feel safe without needing perfection. Healing grows when you create new emotional experiences for yourself. Spend time in places that feel peaceful. Do things that bring you joy. Build connections with people who treat you with respect. These new experiences show your mind that safety is possible. They create fresh emotional pathways that slowly replace the old ones. You teach your mind that life can be gentle. You show your heart that it can open again without fear. Each new positive experience builds another layer of inner safety. Dropping old pain takes patience. Some days you will feel strong, and other days you may feel the old wound return. This is normal. Emotional healing rarely moves in a straight line, but each time you breathe through the discomfort, each time you speak to yourself with kindness, each time you choose stability over chaos, you move closer to complete freedom. You are not starting over, you are continuing forward. Inner safety is not something someone gives you, it is something you build within yourself. Through repeated choices, you show yourself that you can handle difficult feelings. You show yourself that you can care for your emotional needs. You show yourself that fear does not have to be your guide. When you learn to drop old pain, you open room for strength, calm and self-respect to grow. And as this inner safety expands, your life begins to feel different. You wake up with a lighter mind. You interact with others more openly. You make decisions with more clarity. You feel more grounded in your own presence. You realize that healing is not only possible, it is happening right now because you are choosing it. You are choosing to protect your peace. You are choosing to build a life that supports your emotional health. You are choosing to step out of the grip of old pain and into a future shaped by strength instead of fear.
Chapter 5. Free your heart from past emotional weight. Many people move through life with a heart that feels heavier than it should, not because of who they are today, but because of what they lived through yesterday. Past emotional weight can stay inside the heart long after the moment has passed. It can sit quietly in the background, shaping your feelings without your awareness. It can influence how you trust, how you love, and how you respond to challenges. Freeing your heart from past emotional weight is not about erasing what happened. It is about opening space for new strength, new clarity, and a new sense of emotional direction. Your heart cannot feel light while it holds unresolved tension. Many people learn to move forward without ever processing what hurt them. They kept going because life demanded it. They stayed strong because others needed them.
They hid their pain because they had no place to release it. Over time, the heart became crowded with old disappointments, old fears, old betrayals, old regrets. When the heart carries too much, even small stress can feel bigger than it is. That is why the journey toward emotional freedom requires clearing the weight that no longer belongs inside you. The first step is honesty, not with the world, with yourself. Your heart heals when you admit what has been sitting in it. You acknowledge the decisions that left a mark, the relationships that drained you, the moments that made you question your worth. This honesty creates a shift. Instead of carrying the weight blindly, you begin to understand what you are releasing. You give yourself permission to feel without judgment. A heart that is allowed to feel is a heart that can begin to free itself. Next, look at the emotional weight you learn to normalize. Sometimes the heart holds on to experiences because they became familiar. You may have grown used to feeling guarded. You may have accepted tension as part of your identity. You may have believed that emotional heaviness is simply who you are. But familiarity is not the same as truth. When you recognize old emotional weight as something you can release rather than something you must live with, your heart begins to loosen. You begin to see that emotional freedom is not reserved for a special few. It is possible for you as well. Freeing your heart also requires separating pain from meaning. Painful experiences often produce personal conclusions. You might have told yourself that you are not worthy of support, or that you must handle everything alone, or that caring creates vulnerability. These beliefs may have been formed during difficult moments, but they do not reflect your value. When you remove the meaning you attach to the pain, the weight begins to dissolve. You stop interpreting your entire life through the filter of a painful memory. You begin to understand that the event shaped a feeling, not your identity. Another important part of this process is emotional expression. Emotional weight builds when feelings are suppressed. The heart collects everything that has been pushed aside, every unspoken fear, every unexpressed disappointment. Every moment you acted strong when you were hurting inside. To free your heart, those emotions need room to breathe. Speak them out loud to someone safe, or write them down in private. Feeling your emotions does not make you weak. It allows the heart to release what was never meant to stay trapped. Expression is how the heart clears space. Freeing your heart also involves recognizing the people who influenced your emotional load. Some individuals added pain. Some took advantage of your kindness. Some shaped your view of relationships. Understanding how these experiences affected your heart allows you to remove the emotional residue they left behind. You are not required to carry those memories as emotional burdens. You can acknowledge the impact without letting it define your future. As you remove these layers one by one, your heart regains its natural openness. A heart that seeks freedom must learn forgiveness, not for others, but for its own peace. Forgiveness here does not mean forgetting or excusing. It means releasing the emotional tension tied to a memory. Holding on does not protect you from further pain. It keeps you connected to suffering that already happened. When you choose forgiveness, you choose your well-being over your anger. You choose emotional clarity over emotional weight. Forgiveness creates space inside your heart, where healing can grow. Another key piece of freeing your heart is learning to trust yourself again. Past emotional weight often creates self-doubt. You may second-guess your decisions or question your worth. You may hesitate to open up because you fear being hurt again. But trust does not rebuild itself automatically. It grows through small, consistent actions. Every time you honor your needs, your heart grows lighter. Every time you choose what supports your peace, your heart grows stronger. Self-trust is the anchor that gives your heart stability and confidence. Your heart also needs new experiences to replace old emotional patterns. When you expose your heart to safe people, calm environments, and meaningful moments, you teach it that life can be gentle. You show it that not every connection leads to pain. These fresh experiences soften the emotional tension built over years. They help your heart release old protective walls. Healing expands when new positive memories begin to replace old painful ones. Your heart learns that it can open without fear. Freeing your heart includes letting yourself outgrow past versions of yourself. You are not the same person who went through the hurt. You are wiser now. You are stronger now. You have more awareness than you did then. Many people stay emotionally stuck because they continue seeing themselves through the eyes of their past. But when you update the way you see yourself, the emotional weight loses its power. You begin to identify with your growth instead of your wound. Your heart becomes more aligned with who you are becoming. It is also important to create emotional boundaries. Emotional weight often comes from giving too much of yourself to situations or people who are not ready to receive you with respect. When you learn to set limits, your heart feels protected. You reduce emotional strain. You create a sense of stability that allows healing to happen. Boundaries are not walls, they are safeguards that keep your heart from carrying unnecessary burden. With each healthy boundary you create, your emotional weight decreases. As your heart begins to free itself, you may notice a change in how you breathe. You may feel a lightness in your chest you have not felt in years. You may approach conversations with less tension. You may catch yourself smiling more easily, or waking up with more motivation. These are signs that your heart is releasing old weight. Healing does not announce itself loudly. It shows up in small shifts that accumulate over time. Another part of this transformation is allowing yourself to enjoy peace without guilt. Many people feel uncomfortable when things finally calm down. They wait for something to go wrong because they became used to emotional strain. But peace is not a warning sign. It is a sign that your heart is learning to live without constant fear. When you allow yourself to feel peaceful without questioning it, you give your heart permission to heal fully. As you continue this journey, remember that freeing your heart is not a one-day task. It is a continuous honoring of your emotional needs. Some days you will feel open. Some days you may feel closed again. That is natural. Healing moves in cycles. What matters is that you continue choosing release over tension and clarity over old wounds. Each choice moves you closer to emotional freedom. When your heart becomes free from past emotional weight, you reclaim a part of yourself that was once hidden. You feel more present in your relationships. You feel more confident in your decisions. You feel more aligned with your values. You stop acting from old pain and start acting from new strength. A free heart thinks clearly, loves wisely, and moves with purpose. The freedom you create inside yourself becomes the foundation for everything you choose moving forward. You begin living with courage instead of hesitation. You begin connecting with sincerity instead of fear. You begin trusting yourself with a level of confidence that comes only from emotional healing. And as your heart grows lighter, your entire life reflects that change.
Chapter 6. Unhold painful memories and open new peace. Many people hold on to painful memories without realizing how tightly they grip them. These memories may not appear every day, yet they stay tucked inside, shaping reactions, choices, and emotions. Some memories come from moments of embarrassment, betrayal, loss, or deep disappointment. Others come from mistakes you made during a time when you did not know any better. When these memories stay active, they influence the way you see yourself and the world around you. To unhold painful memories is to loosen the emotional tension attached to them.
It is to open space for new peace to take root in your life. Painful memories often stay alive because they were never given a proper place to settle. They may have been pushed aside, ignored, or buried because addressing them felt uncomfortable or overwhelming. Yet avoiding them does not erase them. Avoidance traps them inside the mind where they wait for a moment of weakness to resurface. Unholding them means allowing yourself to see the memory without letting it dictate your present. You bring it into conscious awareness to understand it, not to relive it. This awareness gives you choice. Choice is the first step toward peace. A painful memory loses its strength when you look at it through your current wisdom rather than your past emotions. Many memories were formed during a time when you felt powerless or confused. You may have accepted blame that did not belong to you. You may have felt unsafe or unseen. You may have interpreted the moment through fear rather than clarity. When you revisit the memory today with a more mature mind, you often see details you overlooked before. You realize your younger self was trying to make sense of a situation they were not prepared for. This understanding softens the emotional attachment and helps you release the tension you have been carrying. Another key part of unholding painful memories is recognizing what they taught you. Not in a way that glorifies the pain, but in a way that acknowledges your growth. Painful memories can shape strength, compassion, resilience, and depth. They can help you understand your limits and your values. When you identify what you gained, the emotional grip of the memory becomes weaker. The memory shifts from being a source of ongoing hurt to being a marker of personal development. This shift creates inner space where peace can enter. Unholding painful memories also requires understanding which emotions are still attached to the story. Sometimes the memory itself is not the problem. What causes distress is the emotion you link to it. Shame, fear, guilt, anger, confusion, or loneliness may still sit in the background. To free yourself, identify which emotions remain active. Name them clearly. When you name an emotion, you bring it into your control. The mind becomes calmer because it no longer deals with vague discomfort. Clarity reduces emotional noise and opens the door for healing. A powerful aspect of releasing painful memories is giving yourself the permission to stop revisiting them. Many people return to old memories because they feel responsible for keeping them alive, as if letting go would mean the moment never mattered. But holding on does not honor the experience. It only keeps you tied to a pain that no longer serves you. You can acknowledge the importance of the memory without carrying it as a burden. You can let the moment rest while you move forward. One of the biggest barriers to letting go of painful memories is self-blame. People often carry guilt long after they have grown past the mistake. They replay the moment because they believe they should have behaved differently. But no one sees life clearly while living through it. You react with the understanding you had at the time. You make choices based on the emotional capacity you had then. Releasing self-blame is essential for unholding old pain. When you forgive your past self for being human, the memory softens and loses its power. Another important step is removing the fear that a painful memory will repeat itself. Sometimes the mind holds on to old pain out of protection. It thinks repeating the memory will prevent future hurt. But this constant replay keeps you stuck. You cannot live freely while preparing for the same wound over and over. To create peace, you must remind yourself that the past is not your present. You are stronger now. You are wiser now. You are more aware of what you need. You can handle life differently. Reassuring yourself builds confidence and reduces the emotional grip of the memory. Opening new peace is a proactive process. Peace does not enter a mind that is overwhelmed by old tension. You must create space for it. Start by giving yourself quiet moments each day. Listen to your thoughts without getting caught in them. When a painful memory appears, acknowledge it and let it pass without holding it. Learning not to cling to thoughts teaches your mind that it can release what it no longer needs. This practice slowly unhooks the emotional weight attached to old memory. Your body also plays a role in releasing old pain. Painful memories often attach themselves to physical tension. When you relax your shoulders, breathe deeply, or stretch your muscles, you send a message to your nervous system that you are not in danger. When the body relaxes, the mind follows. Peace grows more easily when the body feels safe. This connection between mind and body is essential. You cannot release emotional weight while carrying constant physical stress. Another way to open new peace is by choosing environments that support calm. The places you spend time influence your emotional state. Quiet surroundings can help your mind settle. Being in nature can soothe the heart. Spending time around emotionally stable people can help reduce the intensity of old memories. Surrounding yourself with supportive environments teaches your mind that safety exists. When the mind feels safe, old memories lose their ability to disrupt your peace. Creating new peace also means forming new emotional experiences. Painful memories can keep you stuck in old patterns of thinking and feeling. Introducing new positive experiences replaces those old patterns with healthier ones. Smile at people who show kindness. Engage in moments that bring genuine joy. Make room for laughter. Spend time with those who respect your presence. These experiences teach your mind that life is not defined by past hurt. They slowly replace old emotional imprints with new ones that feel peaceful and supportive. Another crucial part of unholding painful memories is addressing the narrative you created around them. Often the story you tell yourself about what happened becomes heavier than the actual event. You may have told yourself the experience meant you were unlovable, powerless, or unimportant. These interpretations are usually shaped by emotion rather than truth. When you change the narrative, the memory loses its emotional weight. You see yourself as someone who survived rather than someone who was defeated. You see yourself as someone who learned rather than someone who failed. This new narrative opens a path to inner calm. Peace grows when you stop expecting the past to fix itself. The pain may not be fair, it may not make sense. It may never receive an apology or a clean ending. But waiting for closure keeps you emotionally stuck. Closure comes from your decision to release what no longer supports your growth. When you choose peace over waiting for answers, you regain control over your emotional life. This shift empowers you. It frees you from the expectation that someone else must repair what happened. As you continue this process, you will notice that the intensity of painful memories begins to fade. They may appear from time to time, but they no longer shake your stability. You feel more grounded when they arise. You move through them without losing your balance. This is a sign that peace is settling. Emotional healing rarely happens suddenly. It grows in layers, through daily choices, through gentle courage, and through consistent self-support. Opening new peace also involves learning to enjoy moments without fear of losing them. When the heart has been hurt, it can become protective even during peaceful times. But peace is meant to be lived, not feared. Allow yourself to experience calm without worrying about when it will disappear. When you embrace peaceful moments fully, they build a new emotional foundation that supports your journey. Unholding painful memories allows you to step into a life that is not shaped by what once happened to you. It allows you to live with clarity. It allows you to build connections without suspicion. It allows you to think clearly, without emotional fog. When you release old memories, you reclaim emotional freedom. You reclaim mental space. You reclaim the ability to move through life with confidence instead of fear. This process is not about forgetting your past. It is about transforming your relationship with it. It is about choosing peace over continuous emotional strain. It is about recognizing your strength and honoring your growth. When you unhold painful memories and open new peace, you not only heal your past, you improve your present and strengthen your future. Chapter 7. Loosen emotional tension and feel steady inside. Many people walk through life with more emotional tension than they realize. It shows up in the way they breathe, the way they listen, the way they react, and even the way they sleep. Emotional tension builds slowly, often from daily stress, unresolved feelings, or the pressure to appear strong. Over time, this tension becomes a habit. You begin to live in a state of constant alert without noticing it. Loosening emotional tension is not about denying your struggles. It is about giving your mind and body a chance to settle so you can feel steady inside again. A steady inner state begins with understanding how tension builds. Every time you ignore your feelings, you add pressure. Each time you hold back your truth to avoid conflict, you add pressure. When you push yourself beyond your limits without rest, you add pressure. These small moments accumulate and create an inner tightness that affects your mood and clarity. To loosen this tension, you must pay attention to where it sits. Notice when your breath becomes shallow. Notice when your thoughts race. Notice when irritation rises quickly. These signals show that your mind is asking for space. One of the most effective ways to ease emotional tension is through conscious slowing down. Many people rush from one thing to the next without giving themselves a moment to breathe. When you slow down, even for a few seconds, your nervous system shifts out of urgency. You give your mind permission to relax. You might simply place your hand on your chest, breathe deeply, or allow your shoulders to drop. These actions may seem small, but they send a strong message to your body that it can release some of its pressure. Another important step is acknowledging the emotions that create tension. People often feel tense when they avoid feelings like anger, sadness, or frustration. Holding these emotions inside creates internal strain. When you give yourself the space to admit what you feel, the tension loosens. You do not need to solve the emotion in that moment. Just allowing it to exist reduces the pressure. Emotional honesty brings relief because the mind no longer needs to hide or suppress anything. Feeling steady inside also involves identifying the thoughts that increase emotional weight. Some thoughts create anxiety. Some thoughts trigger self-doubt. Some thoughts keep you stuck in old fears. When these thoughts appear, they tighten the mind. Recognizing them helps you break their influence. You can challenge the thought, redirect your focus, or replace it with something more supportive. When you shift your thinking, your body naturally follows. Clear thoughts create a calm inner environment. Loosening emotional tension also requires giving yourself permission to pause. Many people believe they must always perform, respond, or fix things immediately. This urgency feeds emotional tension. Taking a pause before reacting gives you control. You choose how to respond rather than acting from stress. A pause can prevent misunderstandings, reduce emotional strain, and give you clarity. This pause becomes a protective tool that keeps you from being swept away by overwhelming feelings. Your body holds emotional tension long after the situation that caused it has passed. To release it, you must include your body in your healing. Stretching, walking, breathing deeply, or moving your muscles gently can help release physical tightness. When your body relaxes, your emotions soften. This creates a steady internal state. Emotional healing is not only a mental process, it is a physical experience as well. When your body feels safe, your emotions begin to settle. Feeling steady inside also comes from building trust in yourself. Emotional tension often rises when you doubt your own ability to handle life. When you trust your capacity to face challenges, the mind relaxes. You know that even if something difficult happens, you can deal with it. That belief removes pressure. To build this trust, Pay attention to the obstacles you have already overcome. Recognize your strength and your resilience. Trust grows through honest reflection on your progress. Another factor that helps reduce emotional tension is managing the expectations you place on yourself. Many people expect perfection from themselves. They expect flawless performance, emotional stability at all times, and constant productivity. These expectations create unnecessary tension. When you allow yourself to be human, the pressure drops. You do not need to carry the world on your shoulders to be worthy. You do not need to impress everyone to be enough. When you replace pressure with acceptance, you create inner steadiness. Your surroundings also influence emotional tension. Being around constant noise, conflict, or negativity keeps the mind unsettled. You may not control every environment, but you can limit exposure to what drains you. Spend more time in settings that calm your system. Choose conversations that uplift you. Protect your attention from unnecessary stress. When your environment supports peace, your emotions follow. Emotional steadiness develops more easily when you are not fighting constant external tension. Another practice that supports inner steadiness is expressing your feelings clearly. Emotional tension grows when you hold everything inside. Speaking your truth, sharing your concerns, or asking for support helps release the weight. You do not need dramatic conversations. Simple honesty is enough. When people understand your needs, your relationships become smoother. Clear communication reduces emotional strain and strengthens connection. It removes guesswork, which often causes unnecessary tension. Loosening emotional tension also comes from releasing the urge to control everything. Trying to control every outcome, every reaction, every detail drains emotional energy. Life becomes rigid and stressful. When you accept that some things are outside your control, you allow yourself to relax. You focus on what you can influence and let the rest unfold naturally. This shift brings immediate relief. Control is heavy. Acceptance is steady. Self-compassion plays a major role in reducing emotional pressure. If you treat yourself harshly, your emotions tighten. If you constantly criticize yourself, your mind becomes tense. Offering yourself understanding reduces the emotional load. Speak to yourself gently. Acknowledge your efforts. Support yourself during difficult moments. Self-compassion is not indulgence. It is emotional maintenance. It keeps your inner world from collapsing under the weight of unrealistic demands. Feeling steady inside requires creating routines that support balance. These routines may include moments of reflection, mindful breathing, or quiet time at the beginning or end of your day. When you have predictable moments of calm, your mind learns to settle more easily. These routines act as anchors, holding you steady even when life becomes hectic. Emotional steadiness grows from consistency, not intensity. Another way to loosen emotional tension is to allow yourself to rest. Rest is not only physical, emotional rest is equally important. You may need space from certain conversations, responsibilities, or social interactions. Giving yourself permission to take a break does not make you weak. It keeps you balanced. Rest is an investment in your well-being. When you rest properly, your emotions regain their natural stability. As you loosen emotional tension, you begin to feel a shift inside. You may notice that conflicts do not affect you as deeply. You may find it easier to recover from stressful moments. You may feel more clear-headed and emotionally balanced. These changes indicate that your inner world is becoming steady. Emotional steadiness is not about being unaffected by life. It is about staying centered even when life challenges you. You may also begin to feel more connected to yourself. Emotional tension often creates distance within. It separates you from your needs, your feelings, and your clarity. When the tension loosens, you reconnect with your inner voice. You understand yourself better. You make decisions with more confidence. You feel grounded instead of scattered. This steady connection is one of the strongest signs of emotional healing. Loosening emotional tension does not mean ignoring life's challenges. It means facing them with a calm foundation. It means responding from strength, rather than stress. It means trusting that you can handle what comes your way without losing yourself. When you feel steady inside, you become more resilient. You navigate difficulties with clarity. You maintain emotional balance even during change. This inner steadiness becomes a gift you carry into every area of your life. It influences your relationships, your decisions, your self-esteem, and your daily peace. You feel more in control of your emotional direction. You move with purpose instead of pressure. You experience calm not as a rare moment, but as a consistent part of your life. As you continue this journey, remember that emotional steadiness is built over time. Each small release, each honest moment, each breath of relief strengthens your inner foundation. Loosening emotional tension is not a single event. It is a daily act of caring for your mind and body. It is a gentle commitment to your well-being. When you learn to loosen emotional tension and feel steady inside, you gain a level of self-trust and peace that cannot be taken away easily. You learn to move through life with clarity. You carry calm within you, no matter what happens around you. And with each step, you become more aligned with the version of yourself who feels grounded, balanced, and emotionally strong.
Chapter 8. Clear blocked feelings and allow real healing. Many people carry feelings that never had the chance to move through them. These feelings stay stuck inside the mind and body, shaping reactions, draining energy, and blocking emotional growth. Blocked feelings can come from moments you avoided, memories you brushed aside, or emotions you believed you were not allowed to express. They can sit quietly for years and then appear suddenly, leaving you confused or overwhelmed. Clearing blocked feelings is not about forcing yourself to get over anything. It is about making space for what you never fully processed, so your healing can finally move forward. Blocked feelings often begin when you learn to hide your emotions, to protect yourself. Maybe you learn to stay quiet to avoid conflict. Maybe you stayed strong because others depended on you. Maybe you avoided difficult conversations to keep peace. With time, the emotions pushed aside build weight. They become tension in the chest, tightness in the throat, or a heaviness that follows you through the day. Clearing these feelings begins with recognizing that they exist. When you notice how certain thoughts or memories affect your body, you begin to understand what still needs attention. One of the most effective steps in clearing blocked feelings is allowing yourself to feel without judging your reaction. Many people add shame on top of their emotions. They criticize themselves for being upset. They believe their feelings are inconvenient or wrong. This judgment only blocks the emotion further. When you give yourself the freedom to experience what you feel, you reduce the pressure inside. You create emotional space where the feeling can move instead of being trapped. This gentle acceptance is often the beginning of true healing. Another powerful part of clearing blocked feelings is understanding where they come from. Some feelings were formed during difficult moments in your past. Some were shaped by misunderstanding or emotional confusion. Some came from experiences you were too young or unprepared to handle. When you revisit these emotions with a mature perspective, you see them differently. You understand why you reacted the way you did. You recognize what you needed at that time. This insight loosens the emotional grip and helps you release what has been stuck inside for years. Clearing blocked feelings also requires slowing down enough to hear yourself. Many people stay busy to avoid uncomfortable emotions. Constant activity becomes a shield, but healing grows when you allow quiet moments. In these moments, old feelings may rise to the surface. This is not a setback. It is your mind's way of showing you what needs attention. When you breathe through the discomfort instead of ignoring it, you teach your mind that it is safe to release these emotions. Each moment of honesty clears a little more space inside you. Another way to support this process is by expressing your feelings in a safe manner.
You might speak with someone who understands you. You might write down what you feel. You might simply sit with your emotions and acknowledge them. Expression is not about reliving your pain. It is about giving the emotion a path out of your system. Emotions that stay unspoken become heavy. Emotions that are expressed begin to soften. Real healing happens when the feeling moves instead of staying locked inside. Clearing blocked feelings also involves releasing the pressure to be emotionally perfect. You do not need to have everything figured out. You do not need to react flawlessly. You do not need to hide your struggles. When you release this pressure, your emotions relax. They no longer fight for attention because you are finally giving them room to exist. Allowing imperfection opens the door for balance. It reminds you that being human includes experiencing a full range of emotion. Another step in this journey is noticing how blocked feelings affect your behavior. You may withdraw from people without knowing why. You may feel irritated or impatient without a clear cause. You may find it difficult to trust or feel calm. These behaviors are not personality traits. They are signs of emotional buildup. When you observe these patterns without blaming yourself, you gather the information you need to heal. Your mind shows you what needs release. Your body shows you where tension sits. When you listen, you begin to regain emotional control. Clearing blocked feelings also means giving yourself time. Healing does not follow a strict schedule. Some days you may feel emotionally open, and other days you may feel closed again. These shifts are natural. When you stay patient with yourself, the emotional pressure decreases. You build resilience. You learn to meet each emotional wave with steadiness rather than panic. With time, emotional processing becomes easier, and the heaviness inside begins to lighten. A crucial part of this process is allowing yourself to feel safe. Many blocked emotions come from moments that felt unsafe or overwhelming. When you create a supportive environment, both internally and externally, you give your feelings permission to move. Safety can come from speaking kindly to yourself, choosing environments that calm you, or stepping away from situations that drain you. When your mind senses safety, old feelings rise to be released. Your nervous system learns that it no longer needs to guard those emotions. As you clear blocked feelings, you may begin to notice physical changes. You might breathe more deeply. Your shoulders may relax. Your chest may feel more open. Your thoughts may become clearer. These changes show that your emotional system is releasing tension. The body often stores feelings long after the mind has moved on. When the body releases tension, emotional healing accelerates. Another important part of allowing real healing is accepting that some emotions will return from time to time. This does not mean you failed. It means healing is active. When an old feeling returns, handle it with calm awareness. You now have tools you did not have before. You know how to breathe through it. You know how to express it. You know how to let it move without clinging to it. Each time you respond with patience, the emotional weight becomes lighter. Real healing becomes possible when you no longer fear your emotions. When you learn to face them instead of resisting them, you gain confidence. The mind becomes less reactive. The body becomes less tense. You begin to trust yourself with your own feeling. This trust creates long-lasting emotional stability. It becomes a foundation you can rely on during challenges. Clearing blocked feelings opens space for joy, clarity, and connection. When old emotions fade, you become more present. You listen more deeply. You speak more honestly. You experience life with more openness. You connect with others without the heavy filter of past pain. You feel more grounded in your choices and more connected to your needs. Real healing is not about erasing your past. It is about allowing yourself to grow beyond it. Blocked feelings lose their power when you give them space to move. Healing grows when you treat your emotions with respect. You begin to carry yourself differently, not weighed down but balanced, not guarded but aware, not tense but steady. This process allows you to reclaim your emotional freedom. You step into life with a clearer mind and a lighter heart. You respond to challenges with clarity instead of overwhelm. You build relationships that reflect your emotional strength. You learn to trust your inner voice. When you clear blocked feelings and allow real healing, you become someone who can move forward with confidence, someone who understands their emotions instead of fearing them, someone who builds peace from the inside out. This transformation is not loud, but it is powerful. It changes the way you experience yourself and the world around you, one honest moment at a time.
Chapter 9. Step away from old wounds and breathe freely. Many people hold old wounds closer than they realize. These wounds may come from experiences that were never processed or from moments that cut deeply and left emotional marks. With time, they settle into the mind and become part of how a person reacts, how they think, and how they see themselves. Old wounds can make life feel heavy, even when the present is calm. They can take away joy from good moments and create fear in situations that pose no real danger. Stepping away from old wounds is about reclaiming the space they occupy inside you. It is about making room to breathe freely without the constant pull of the past. Old wounds often stay alive because they were never fully understood. Many people rush through painful experiences without the chance to reflect or make sense of what happened. They carry the emotion but lose track of the meaning. This creates confusion, it creates fear, it creates emotional pressure that seems to appear out of nowhere. When you take the time to understand what shaped these wounds, you reclaim control. You no longer react blindly. You respond with awareness. This first step begins to loosen the grip the past holds on your emotional world. Stepping away from old wounds also requires recognizing that you are no longer the person who lived through them. You may still feel the emotion, but you have grown since that time. You have new perspectives, new understanding, and new strength. Many people stay emotionally stuck because they continue interpreting life through the lens of who they used to be. When you update your view of yourself, your old wounds lose power. You begin to see your past not as a current threat but as a memory that no longer defines your identity. A powerful part of stepping away from old wounds is learning to stop revisiting them out of habit. The mind can become attached to familiar pain even when it hurts. It repeats the same scenes, the same conversations, the same mistakes. This repetition does not help you heal. It keeps the wound open. When you notice your mind slipping back into old patterns, pause and redirect your attention. You choose what you give energy to. When you refuse to feed old pain with new focus, it slowly loses its emotional weight. Old wounds often carry beliefs that came from moments of weakness or fear. You may have told yourself that you are not worthy of love or that you can never trust again. You may have formed beliefs that limit your growth. These beliefs are not facts. They are emotional reactions from a time when you did not have the clarity you have now. To breathe freely, you must challenge these beliefs. Replace them with ideas that support who you are becoming. When your internal beliefs shift, your emotional world follows. Stepping away from old wounds also requires emotional release. Many people hold on to their pain because they never expressed it. They swallowed their sadness, hid their anger, or ignored their confusion. Suppressed feelings become emotional blockages. They create tension in the body and pressure in the mind. Giving yourself the space to express your emotions, whether through words, writing, or calm reflection, helps release the intensity. Emotional release softens the wound and gives your mind room to breathe.
Another step in this process is understanding that healing does not demand forgetting. You do not need to erase your past to move beyond it. You simply stop carrying it as a burden. You learn from what happened, but you do not let it define your present. Many people confuse moving on with pretending nothing happened. True healing means accepting the experience without allowing it to guide your current decisions. This shift creates emotional distance. It allows you to step away from the wound while keeping the wisdom it taught you. Breathe freely also requires releasing the identity tied to your pain. Some people become so familiar with their wounds that they integrate them into their personality. They see themselves as the person who was betrayed, or abandoned, or mistreated. They let the label shape how they interact with the world. But you are not your wound. You are someone who lived through it and grew despite it. When you separate your identity from your pain, you unlock freedom. You begin to live from who you truly are, not from what you endure. As you step away from old wounds, your body plays a huge role. Emotional pain often shows up physically. You may feel pressure in your chest, tightness in your jaw, or tension in your stomach. Learning to relax your body helps release the emotional charge attached to those wounds. Deep breathing, gentle movement, or even stillness can help calm your nervous system. When your body relaxes, your emotional state becomes more balanced. Breath becomes easier. Thought becomes clearer. Healing becomes possible. Another way to breathe freely is by creating emotional distance from situations that trigger old memories. You do not need to revisit places or relationships that bring unnecessary stress. Protecting your emotional space is not avoidance. It is responsibility. You are allowed to choose peace over repetition. You are allowed to walk away from patterns that reopen old wounds. Each boundary you create becomes a step toward emotional freedom. It reinforces the message that your well-being matters. Stepping away from old wounds also means letting yourself experience life without expecting pain at every corner. When someone carries past hurt for too long, the mind becomes trained to anticipate worst-case outcomes. This expectation restricts joy and prevents emotional ease. Allowing yourself to enjoy peaceful moments without suspicion helps break this cycle. Trusting small moments of comfort teaches your mind that safety exists. When you feel safe, your breathing becomes slower, your thoughts become clearer, and your heart becomes more open. As you continue clearing emotional weight, new experiences can help strengthen your healing. Spend time with people who treat you with kindness. Engage in activities that bring genuine joy. Let yourself feel support. These positive experiences build new emotional patterns that replace the old ones. The more new memories you create, the less influence your old wounds have. You begin to live forward rather than backward. Another important aspect of stepping away from old wounds is giving yourself permission to rest emotionally. Healing requires energy. You may have spent years holding emotional tension without realizing how much it drained you. Allow yourself moments of emotional quiet. Let your mind set. Rest is how your emotional foundation rebuilds. It helps you breathe more freely and think more clearly. You will know you are stepping away from old wounds when you notice changes in your reactions. You may not get upset as easily. You may feel calmer when facing uncertainty. You may find yourself less attached to old pain. These small shifts show that healing is happening. Progress is not always loud or dramatic. Often it shows up in the way you feel during everyday moments. Eventually you begin to feel lighter. You notice that your breath flows more naturally. You wake up with less emotional pressure. You feel more open to connection and new experiences. This lightness is not temporary. It reflects the inner work you have done. You are not escaping the past. You are outgrowing it. You are building a life that is not controlled by what once hurt you. Stepping away from old wounds is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. It allows you to move through life with clarity. It allows you to approach relationships with openness instead of fear. It helps you breathe without emotional restriction. It gives you permission to live fully, not cautiously. You begin to see that healing is not about what happened to you. It is about who you choose to become, despite what happened. And with each step you take, with each breath that feels easier, you prove to yourself that emotional freedom is possible. You show yourself that the past can lose its grip. You feel the difference inside you. You feel the strength that comes from release. You feel the steady peace that grows when you finally step away from old wounds and allow yourself to breathe freely.
Chapter 10. Let emotional tension fade and regain freedom. Emotional tension often builds quietly. It may start with small worries, unmet needs, or moments where you felt misunderstood. Over time, these experiences gather inside you. They create a pressure that affects how you think, speak, and move through life. When emotional tension stays for too long, it becomes normal, and you begin to forget what inner freedom feels like. Letting emotional tension fade is not about avoiding your feelings. It is about giving your mind and body the chance to release what they no longer need to hold. Regaining freedom means returning to a state where your thoughts feel clear, your heart feels open, and your decisions come from strength rather than stress. The first step toward letting emotional tension fade is recognizing its presence. Many people carry stress without naming it. They blame themselves for feeling overwhelmed or believe they should handle everything without strain. This pressure makes tension stronger. When you acknowledge that you feel tense, you take the first step toward release. You give yourself permission to slow down. You give yourself room to breathe. You begin to shift from holding everything tightly to loosening what has been weighing you down. Releasing tension also requires understanding where it comes from. Emotional pressure often forms when you ignore your own limits. Maybe you said yes when you needed to say no. Maybe you kept quiet to avoid conflict. Maybe you carried responsibilities alone because you feared disappointing others. Each of these moments creates internal strain. When you look back and identify patterns that contribute to your tension, you can begin to change them. Awareness allows you to make different choices going forward. You start living with intention instead of reacting automatically. Another important part of letting emotional tension fade is learning to soften your internal dialogue. If you speak harshly to yourself, you increase emotional pressure. If you criticize yourself for being tired or struggling, the tension grows stronger. Your mind listens to the way you talk to yourself. When you shift from criticism to understanding, your emotional state changes. Speaking gently to yourself helps your body relax. It reduces the need to stay guarded. This kindness becomes a foundation for emotional freedom. Letting tension fade also requires reconnecting with your breathing. When you are tense, your breath becomes quick or shallow. Your body reacts as if it is under threat even when nothing dangerous is happening. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you signal to your nervous system that you are safe. Your muscles relax, your heart rate steadies, your mind becomes clearer. You begin to feel grounded again. This simple act of breathing with awareness helps release emotional pressure that has been stored inside you for far too long. A major reason emotional tension stays is that people often carry expectations that exhaust them. They try to be perfect. They try to stay strong even when they need rest. They try to handle everything alone. These expectations create a constant internal struggle. Letting them go gives your mind space to relax. You do not need to impress anyone to be worthy. You do not need to hide your emotions to appear strong. When you allow yourself to be human, your emotional tension begins to dissolve. You stop fighting yourself
and start supporting yourself. Regaining freedom requires letting go of the habits that keep you emotionally trapped. Some habits include replaying stressful situations in your mind, overthinking what you cannot control, or expecting negative outcomes before they happen. These patterns drain your emotional energy. When you choose to break these habits, you free your mind from unnecessary stress. Instead of repeating old thoughts, you choose new ones that support peace. Instead of expecting the worst, you focus on what is possible. These choices slowly shift your emotional landscape. Another part of letting emotional tension fade is creating emotional boundaries. If you carry the feelings of everyone around you, your inner world becomes crowded. You may feel responsible for solving problems that are not yours. You may absorb negativity from others without realizing it. Setting boundaries protects your emotional space. It helps you stay balanced, even when the world around you is chaotic. Boundaries are not selfish. They are a sign of emotional maturity. They help you stay steady and present in your life. To regain freedom, you must also allow yourself moments of stillness. Many people stay busy to avoid feeling their emotions. Constant movement becomes a shield. When you give yourself quiet time, you allow your mind to settle. Stillness gives your emotions a chance to come forward in a gentle way. In these moments, you may notice tension leaving your body. You may feel clarity rise within you. You may finally understand what you need. Stillness becomes a powerful tool for emotional renewal. Emotional tension often hides behind old memories that still influence your reactions. You may tense up when something reminds you of a difficult moment. You may feel defensive even when no threat exists. To release this tension, you must update your mind's understanding. You remind yourself that the past is over. You remind yourself that you are safe in the present. You remind yourself that you are stronger now. These reminders weaken the emotional ties that keep tension alive. They create a sense of freedom that grows with each repetition. As tension fades, your body begins to feel different. Your shoulders drop, your chest opens, your breathing deepens, you move more comfortably. These physical signs show that emotional pressure is lifting. The body stores what the mind cannot process. When the mind releases stress, the body follows. This connection allows healing to unfold naturally. Regaining freedom also involves choosing supportive environments. Surround yourself with people who respect your feelings. Spend time in places that calm your mind. Engage in activities that help you reconnect with yourself. When your environment supports your emotional health, tension fades more quickly. You feel protected rather than drained. You feel supported rather than weighed down. Another step in this process is allowing yourself to grow beyond your emotional habits. Some people stay attached to tension because it feels familiar. They do not know what life feels like without constant pressure. But emotional freedom requires embracing a new way of being. You learn to trust yourself. You learn to allow peace. You learn to live without expecting struggle at every turn. This growth may feel unfamiliar at first, but it becomes more comfortable with time. As emotional tension fades, you begin to experience life differently. You think more clearly. You speak with more intention. You respond rather than react. You feel more connected to your needs. You navigate challenges with more confidence. This shift does not happen overnight. It builds slowly through consistent choices. Each time you choose calm over chaos, you strengthen your emotional freedom. You may notice that freedom feels like space inside your mind. Thoughts no longer crowd each other. Worries no longer dominate your day. You feel a sense of openness that allows creativity, joy and hope to return. This space was always meant to be yours. You reclaim it when you release tension that was never meant to stay. Letting emotional tension fade gives you back your natural balance. You begin to move through your life with stability. You feel grounded even during stressful times. You trust your ability to handle whatever comes. Emotional stability becomes your new normal. It becomes the foundation for healthier decisions, deeper relationships, and a stronger sense of self. When you regain freedom, you stop living from fear and start living from intention. You stop reacting to old pain and start creating new possibilities. You stop carrying emotional weight and start walking with clarity. Your inner world becomes a place of support rather than struggle. This freedom is not a distant dream. It is something you build through daily choices, gentle awareness, and consistent care. With each breath that feels easier, with each thought that feels lighter, with each moment that feels calmer, you prove to yourself that emotional freedom is possible. And when emotional tension finally fades, you feel something powerful inside you. Room to live, room to grow, room to be yourself without pressure. This is the freedom you have been moving toward. This is the freedom you deserve.